So the invitation now is to reflect on each of these pictures in turn. Now, when I did this for the first time in January 5, the group didn't have all the pictures together at once as you have them here on the slide. They were only given each of these photographs in turn. And obviously there was the big reveal at the end of the sculpture of the hand of God, as you see it here in the middle photograph in the bottom of your slide. So as they had the opportunity to look at each of these photos, unless they knew this sculpture, they were trying to work out what it was that they were looking at. Now, I can't do the big reveal very easily for you in this format. However, I would invite you to contemplate each of the smaller pictures before you come to look at the picture of the sculpture as a whole. And with this thought of perspective in mind, to consider how your perspective is nonetheless evolving as you allow your attention to really linger on each of those other photographs in turn. There's an opportunity as you look at that smaller part to see more detail and to have that smaller element speak to you, even though it's just a part, every bit as much as then the wider perspective allows as you suddenly see what it adds up to. But the perspective does change from one photograph to the next. So I'd invite you to do that slowly, to take a bit of time. I don't know how much time you have. If you have just a couple of minutes, they'll take a couple of minutes. But I would encourage you to stop the recording at this point and to just contemplate the pictures as they're offered here. And then when you're ready, if you restart the recording, there's a further element to this that we'll go on to do. So having contemplated the pictures, we're now going to consider how certain things do affect our perspective. So I'm just going to read out some options of things that do affect us, and I'll leave a bit of time between each statement so that you can consider that. So where I'm standing affects my perspective. How close I am to events in time as well as in space affects my perspective. How much time I have will affect perspective. How I am feeling at the time will affect my perspective. What I know affects perspective. The assumptions I make affects perspective. The things that tempt me affect my perspective. The people I am with can affect my perspective. The opinion of others can do so as well. The judgment of others can affect my perspective. Proportion can affect perspective. Impatience will affect perspective. Facts inform perspective. Fear hope can affect our perspective. Being aware of God's presence will affect our perspective. Having no sense of God's presence will affect us as well. the role of revelation can affect our perspective. And finally, thinking about God's perspective will affect us as well.